Hey guys, Mr. Spader here. I suppose you're wondering why we're looking at my stove again. Well, today I'm going to kind of go through the baking soda and vinegar cleaning solution. This has been all the rage on the internet these days, people saying that baking soda and vinegar are the best cleaning thing that you can put on a surface. So we're going to look into that today. So first thing I'm going to do is I've got a spray bottle with some vinegar. And I've got some baking soda. Over here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take just a normal sponge, run it under some water. I'm going to get that sponge nice and soapy with just some dish soap so that we can see there's definitely some soap suds coming out of there. What is going to have a better effect, cleaning-wise, on that disgusting stove over there? So, in order to set it up, I believe the assignment did ask for half of surface to be soap and water and half surface to be baking soda and vinegar. This looks a little bit more disgusting over on this side. So let's put the baking soda and vinegar over here. This isn't going to be a true experiment. If we were doing a real experiment, I'd want there to be the exact same amount of filth on each side, right? As a constant. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to take some baking soda with my spoon. I'm just going to sprinkle it. Sprinkle it all over the stove. I really want to get that chunk right there, see if that works. Okay? And you, like I said, if you search on YouTube, you can see people all over the internet doing this same exact type of thing. So first things first, before we do this, I'm going to go through, and I'm going to take my soapy water, I'm going to add some more soap to my sponge just to make sure that it's nice and soapy and ready to clean. Should be the best cleaning sponge that I have. And I'm going to go ahead and just start wiping on this side some soap and water. See what happens. This really gross chunk over here that I smelt last night. It actually set my smoke alarm off. Maybe you guys have ever done that before. All right, we'll give that a second to kind of soak. And then over here, we have our baking soda. And what you're going to see is a chemical reaction that takes place when vinegar and baking soda mix. You're going to see some bubbles. And those bubbles are basically carbon dioxide being released as part of this reaction. So the question is, does this chemical reaction help clean a surface? So we're going to just do a couple of sprays. Got to get my bottle working. There we go. And we can see around the edges, there's a lot of baking soda out here. You can see a lot of kind of like foam. And when you guys do this, you'll see the same thing. That it kind of turns into like this milky foam of sorts, which is the chemical reaction taking place. And we're talking about that chemical reaction just a little bit more in just a moment. So, baking soda and vinegar on the right, soap and water on the left. You guys did this activity. You're supposed to write your observations down if you chose to. So let's see what happens. I'm noticing right away that not all my baking soda reacted with the vinegar, so that's one thing. But let's see what happens when I just take and wipe it down. Wipe it down. I'm not scrubbing, I'm just doing a wipe. Okay, a single wipe down of what's left. Now, keep in mind that this stove does have a glass top cover on it. So this is glass that I'm working with. You guys might have chose a different substance to use, like if you did a countertop or something like that. You might see slightly differing results. So I'm seeing over here, I'm still seeing a little bit of grime. I guess that's up. This little gross spot up here came off for the most part. As I rub my fingers over it though, I still see a little bit of grossness there. Those of you that did finish were commenting on how this stinks. Yes, vinegar is a very nasty smelling substance. You don't want to use a lot of it. So I'm noticing with my soap that this chunk that's over here that burnt last night and set off the fire alarm is not coming off. I don't know if you can see that through the video camera. But certainly to me, on this glass top, the soap seems to have a bit shinier of a glare to it. The vinegar and baking soda, well, it did pick up some of the gunk as I rub my paper towel over it. It feels like there might still be some stuff up here. Interesting. I can also see that it's a lot more smudged as well. So what exactly is going on here, and why is it that the internet is all excited about this? Well, it's all about chemical reactions. So when you mix vinegar and baking soda together, oh God, let's see. Oh good, it didn't shut off. I thought I shut off the video. When you mix vinegar and baking soda together, you're really just doing what we call a chemical reaction. And when those two substances mix together, I don't know if we'll see if we can focus in on this, we end up with water and something called sodium acetate left over and carbon dioxide. So the bubbles that you saw coming up, or that you will see if you do this activity, that is the carbon dioxide being let out by the reaction. But the other two things are sodium acetate, which is basically salt, and water. So when you do this chemical reaction, you are creating salt water and carbon dioxide gas. So the question is salt water going to be or have the cleaning power that soap is? I believe that the answer to this is no. Apparently, as I'm reading, soap acts a little bit differently than the chemical process. Now, the chemical process, while it does require energy, it does require molecules to be moving around, and it can, knock off some of the gross stains, like that tomato sauce stain that was over here. That's pretty much from the molecules moving around. You're not actually getting a decent clean out of it. So basically, when you take soap, you do something a little bit different where you create negative and positive charges. And that acts kind of like a magnet. So we've all taken magnets together and pushed them apart and whatnot in the past. That is the same idea that happens when you use soap. So, for example, they're telling you to wash your hands all the time for this coronavirus thing. Well, the reason why is because when the soap touches the virus, it literally draws the virus to it. And that's why when you wash your hands, all of the grime and all of the microscopic junk that's on your hands goes down the sink. When you're doing your chemical reaction between baking soda and vinegar, that just doesn't happen. You get salt water and carbon dioxide gas, neither of which are going to help you draw away too much nastiness. It might agitate some of the stuff that's on your stove and break it free for the first time in a long time. Like, I'm going to go back over on this other side over here and try to get that burnt section with some baking soda and vinegar, I think. Just because it does, the chemical process has so many molecules moving around and atoms and electrons moving around that it does seem to knock stuff free, which is pretty awesome. However, it doesn't actually remove the bacteria or the grime that is stuck to your surface. So something to think about moving forward. Like if you've got some gross stuff that's caked onto your stove, this might absolutely work. But if it's something that's like mildew or soap scum or something like that on your shower, it might not work because it's not going to get rid of the bacteria and the gross stuff that might be growing there. All right? So that's a little bit about chemistry. You'll be doing more about chemistry next year. This is just a fun little experiment that you can do. Try a couple of different surfaces, see if you have different degrees of success. I actually have a specific cleaner that I use for a glass cooktop that has soap in it, and it also has a little bit of grit that can actually help rub things off of it as well. So, all right, this is probably my last video for the week, so we'll catch up with you guys tomorrow.